Hi, welcome to the lesson on scales and beyond. Before we get started, you're going to have to get two pieces of paper. First of all, you want to get the major and minor scales and the family of chords, and then you want to get, this is actually a part of a packet. Okay, so there should be several pages, and hopefully you staple them together because we're going to be using them a lot in this series of how to use these scales that we're learning, the majors and minors. And the other one that you want to get is the grid scale pattern for the key of C major or E minor. Okay, so you got the ukulele fretboard right here. You got some diagrams on here. We'll explain that in a sec. So go ahead and pause the tutorial, grab your two pieces of paper, and come on back. And by the way, we are not going to be playing the ukulele in this lesson. We're going to be doing a lecture on the family of chords and how to use them in conjunction with your scales when you do play them on your ukulele. So go ahead and grab something to write with, maybe a highlighter as well, pen or pencil, whatever you think you need. Pause the tutorial, we'll get started in a second. Okay, what you see behind me is basically what's over here. So you got the treble clef, and you got some information over here, which is all over here. So we'll go over that in a second. And keep this paper by you because you'll be taking notes on that paper. Okay. Main thing it says there, C major or A minor. That's the main thing. Okay. This is the title. Make sure you got the correct key or keys. Okay, you don't want to get the wrong paper. That's the paper you want to get. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, follow along. Basically, we're talking about this paper right over here on the board. So just follow along. So what we have here at the top is we have a treble clef. We're talking about the key of C major or A minor. Now this is going to be the easiest lecture on the family of chords, mainly because there are no sharps or flats in the key of C major and A minor, also known as the A relative minor, which is the musical terminology. Okay, so you have a treble clef over here, you have the notes of the scale, okay, you have them in the alphabetical C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. So basically that's how your scale looks on a treble clef, okay? And that's the association with the notes of the scale. Next you have the key that we're going to be talking about, which is C major, A minor. Beneath that you have this, the family of chords. Family of chords. And if you take note, by the way, I hope you're taking notes, okay? So for these lectures, you need to take notes on this because this lecture is going to teach you how and why to use your scales on the ukulele. Bottom line is this: if you just are determined to learn it and do it, eventually you get to your goal. However, this lecture is supposed to get you to your goal a whole lot quicker. And you are hopefully going to understand why and how to use the scales in conjunction with the chords that you're playing with or using. Okay, so you got the family of chords over here. Now notice very carefully, it is in relative to the scale. So you got C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and C. Except in the family of chords, we have names for the chord. We have names for the chord. For instance, this is C major, that's your one chord. D minor, E minor, F, G7, A minor, B diminished, and C, back to the C. Okay? Don't concern yourself too much with the diminished chord, the B diminished chord. Just know that it exists in the family of scales. If you start getting into more complex arrangements of music, you will have to definitely know that it's part of the music or that it's there. However, though, just concentrate on the ones that you can recognize or that seem a little bit more popular or symbolic in that sense. Now, beneath this chords is your Roman numeral chords, also part of your family of chords. Okay, you got Roman numeral number 1, little 2, or that's the 2 minor, 3 minor. You got the 4 chord, which is a major chord, and the 5/7. The 5/7 is interchangeable between a 5. So some people call it a 5 chord. Some people call it a 5/7 chord, depending on how you use it. But it's a very important chord because it's usually there to bring you back to the 1. So when you're playing, when you play a G or a G7, more so for G7, it helps to bring the arrangement, helps to bring the chord back to the 1 chord or the tonic chord. Okay, so that's why that's very important to know that. Continuing on, you got your minor 6 and then 7 diminished. Once again, don't concern yourself too much with that. Just know that it's there and that it's part of the family of chords. And if you see at the both ends over here, you got a C. They're an octave apart, and it's basically the same thing. It's just that that's a lower C, that's a higher C. These are chords. These are the notes of your scale. The biggest thing, if you don't have musical training or theory background, you got to start looking for patterns. And you got to try to start understanding the patterns that you see. Now, hopefully you've completed all the courses that is available at the website, and that basically we just teach you along the way music theory along the way, so that this becomes easier. This is basically a crash course in theory, and hopefully you're taking notes to how you think you can understand it. Now, it's very important to understand what we're talking about. Okay, with this is behind me on the board, right back there. Okay, so if you need to take notes, we're in C major, and this is what it kind of looks like, exactly the same what you see behind me. Now, when you see this paper over here, what if you see at the bottom of the paper over here, it's basically the same thing that we're talking about right on the board, right back there, except there's no treble clef. But the basic idea of the family of chords is here. Now, it's very, very important that these 2 papers, that, by the way, this should be a packet, and hopefully you staple them together. These 2 papers go together, and you want to understand and take notes on them, on both pieces of paper, and especially this paper down here. Write any kind of notes that you think it's going to help you to understand it better. Now, as we proceed into the higher courses or the other courses that's in the series of the scales and beyond, you're going to find that there's going to be other scale patterns, other fretboard diagrams, but we're not going to have this on the other scale grid diagrams. So it's very important at this stage and in this course you make as many notes as possible to help you understand the concept. Okay? Now, getting back to this, it talks about C major and A minor. So the A minor is the relative minor of C major. So just think of it this way. They're like brothers and sisters in the same family, okay? They go together, they work together, they're part of the same family. And that's just the way it is. Okay, so I gave you the diagram of the key of C. So this is the diagram of the key of C, okay? Now, as I explain this, the important thing to keep in mind is that this information that we're talking about is going to teach you how and why to use your scales when you play your scales on the ukulele fretboard. Okay, so if you know how and why to use them, you get to the end result a lot quicker, and you have a stronger and more stable foundation upon understanding and using scales on your fretboard. If not, you're gonna just have to look for patterns and understand the concept of the patterns. Now, moving on. Here is the A minor family of chords. I'm only talking about 5 chords. I don't want to overwhelm you too much. But for you folks who are very ambitious and just got to know everything, basically it follows the same idea as the family of chords in the key of C. Okay? It starts from a 1, goes all the way through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. all back to a 1. There's only 5 here. You just have to keep the same name of the chord as it progresses through the family of chords. So it's going to progress from 1 all the way back to 1 again to, in other words, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, back to 1. Okay, as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it goes on. So the 6th chord would be the chord or letter after E. So what's the chord or letter after E in the C major family of chords? Well, here's an E. Okay, just keep the concept of alphabet. Okay, keep the concept of alphabet. Let's not try to understand everything at once right now. Okay, we'll take it in small steps. So what comes after the letter E is going to be F. Okay, so the next chord after E7 would be some kind of F. Okay, we'd have to look over here to see what kind of F it is. Is it a major or minor? Well, it's a major 4. It's a major chord. So the next chord will be a 6 major. 6, so it'd be an F major. So now with that in mind, let me explain the A minor family of chords. So you got a A minor, we're in the key of A minor. It has to be a 1 chord, okay? It just can't be any kind of 1 chord, okay? If we revert back to the key of C, where does the A minor position occur? Right over here. Okay, and this is important to remember. Okay, it's a minor. It's an A minor. It's a minor. So we have to just translate that so that the A minor becomes a 1. So we have to keep the minor. We have to keep the minor, and then it's a minor 1. What's the next chord? Next, as in the alphabet, what comes after A? Well, it's going to be the letter B. Okay, now B is a diminished chord. So it's a 2nd chord in the family of chords of A minor. So in other words, after the 1 chord, you need a 2. But since it's a diminished, you got to keep that chord. You got to keep the diminished. We just move the position to diminish. Don't concern yourself too much about that. Just know that the diminished chord does exist in the family of chords. Next chord is a 3 chord. Okay, let's find the letter C. A, B, C. Find the letter C. There it is. It's a 1 chord. It's a major chord. So you have to keep that. You have to keep it so it's a major chord. So it's a big 3. Big Roman number 3, symbolizing major. Next is your D minor. Oh, it's a 2 chord. It's a minor. You got to keep that minor. It becomes a 4 minor. And then finally, your 5 chord is always usually 90% of the time, maybe 95% of the time, is going to be your 5 or 5/7. So for now, just remember, it's like the 5/7, but it comes after the D minor because E comes after D. See how E comes after D? In other words, like the alphabet, A, B, C, D, E. Okay, that's how it works. But you got to keep the 5 chord. You got to keep the 5 chord as a 5/7. As a 5/7, because, well, like I told you earlier, one of the biggest purposes of the 5/7 chord is to bring you back to the 1. Bring you back to the 1. Okay, now, at any time, if this gets a little confusing or challenging, you need to just stop the tutorial, back it up, watch it again from that point, and then try to take notes and pick up the subtleties in the explanation of the lecture so that you can understand this whole concept. It's very important that you understand this concept. Now, the bottom line is this. You're going to get to your end result. How you do it is up to you. You can get there quicker, or it's going to take a little longer. To get there quicker, much quicker, you need to understand this concept. Because once you understand how and why to use your scales, it's just much more rewarding, gratifying, and much more fun. If you're going to go the other route, then you have to go the route of memorizing and trying to look for patterns to associate patterns. Okay, this is understanding the whole concept of the family of chords, how it works with the scale. Okay, now once again, on this page right here, you see how you have at the bottom here, it's kind of like this right here, the same thing what we talked about. Hopefully you should have took some notes and put it down there to help you understand. So what this is going to do, when we talk about the fretboard grid, how to use the scales, what this is going to do is just kind of like is notes for you to understand, to help you understand the utilization of this a lot better. So in other words, this whole concept here teaches you, or starts to teach you how to use this. Okay, how to use this. Also, you want to make sure that you understand this, and basically these two things right here, they go together. But most important of all is you want to put a majority of your notes on this page right here. Okay, because in the upcoming tutorial we'll be using this page, and I'll be showing you how to use the scales and the grid, etc. Okay, but it's very important that you understand the concept that we talked about in this lecture. Okay, now once again, there's two ways of understanding this concept. You can try to understand this, how it works, or you can look for patterns. If you have training or you understand music theory, this should be no problem. If you took the previous courses that we have to offer, you can find them on the website. This should all be review. Some folks may be a little weak at it, some folks may be strong at it. The point is that if you took the courses, this should not be new to you. It should be familiar to you, and you should be able to start to put the pieces together. If not, you probably already understand it. Now, if you need to go to the website, buenoukulelelessons.com, and you can go figure out where you need to pick up. Maybe you're not a beginner, so you don't have to start at the very first course. But just read the information. If you're a beginner, you should start at the very first course. Go to the website www.buenoukulelelessons.com, and then decide on where you need to pick up the information. Now, if you don't want to go that route, I'm gonna think that some personal study and research may be necessary for you to grasp this concept. Or once again, the only alternative to that is that you're gonna have to try to recognize patterns. Okay, and once you start recognizing the patterns, you need to try to understand the concept of these patterns that you're memorizing or starting to understand. Okay, now I'm really going to suggest that in this particular lesson, you are probably going to have to watch it multiple times. Okay, it's very important that you understand this. So as many times as you need to watch it multiple times. Now, when you're ready to move on to the next lesson, keep in mind we're going to show you how to utilize the scales in conjunction with this knowledge and lecture. Okay, so when you're ready, we'll see you there.